FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio station.
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. And as always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in and making GPS a part of your afternoon. So I know there's a lot going on with regard to the tragedy at sea and all that stuff, but we're going to discuss that tomorrow on the Hot Topic Tuesday. But today, I promised you guys last week that we would be dealing with the Constitution. And I couldn't think of anybody better in the Bahamas who could break this down for us to help us to understand what is the Constitution and why it's necessary and what your rights are as it relates to the Constitution of the Bahamas. Now, Jason, that microphone is directly in his face. So let's see if we can make some adjustments to that so that my audience can get to see the face of this gentleman. You may want to push yourself, Professor, more that way against the wall, right? So you're looking this way, but at the same time, and then, well, I don't know if that'll work because now you're out of the shot of the camera. All right, Jason, work on that for me, please. So while we're working on that, tell you what, we will, while we're trying to get his camera angle sorted out so that our Facebook audience can see Professor Sydney Thompson, I'm going to play our first clip that's going to set the stage for what we are going to be discussing today. You have to understand that the majority of Bahamians don't have a clue as to what is in the Constitution and how it affects them. And when I say the majority, I mean the vast majority. You can't know what your rights are if you don't know the document that protects those rights. And so when Professor Thompson called the show last week, I thought a good opportunity to jump on, the chance and ask him if he would appear on the show to talk about the Constitution, and he agreed. And so we are here today to talk about that. So what I want to start off with, well, first of all, welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you, Michelle Malcolm, for inviting me. And the Constitution is really my favorite subject.
Oh, I know. I know. We're going to dive deep today.
And so there's a lot in it.
Yes.
And Bahamians need to understand in simple, basic, fundamental language their rights, their freedoms, their privileges, which are entrenched in the Constitution.
We're going to get to it in a minute. We are going to dive deep today. I want to suggest you guys to like and share the show. Let everybody know that we are on the air and we are discussing a matter that is of huge importance to you as a citizen of the Bahamas, and that is the Constitution. What's in it? What's in it as it applies to you and your rights, and why you need to know and understand what the Constitution is all about. Now, first thing we're going to do, we're going to play a clip, and this clip is going to explain to you what is a constitution.
Okay, so before we talk about what a constitution is, let's first explain why we need one. Let's start by looking at the fundamental things we all need as human beings. These are a voice in the decisions that affect our lives, material well-being such as food, shelter, and education, security and protection from violence or discrimination, and recognition and respect as individuals and communities. To help meet these needs, people create governments and delegate powers to them to exercise for the common good of society. The problem, though, is that while governments need powers to perform their functions, history tells us again and again that power without limits can lead to corruption, dictatorship, and oppression. Free, fair, and regular elections might help ensure good government. They allow people to select who they want in power, and over time, to vote out those who perform badly. But we also need some basic rules to control how that power is used, so that those who win elections still have to respect your rights and promote your interests, rather than using power for their own benefit. Just as in a game of football, there have to be rules and a referee. So in a democracy, there must be rules by which all the players are bound. These rules are provided in a constitution. The Constitution is a law, but it's not just an ordinary law. A constitution is a supreme law that establishes, organizes, and empowers the government, and determines how other laws are made and implemented. It is also more difficult to change than ordinary laws, so that those in power cannot make up the rules as they go along. Football wouldn't be fair if the winning team could change the rules, and democracy isn't fair if those in power can just change the Constitution according to their own whim. The Constitution harnesses the energy and power of the state, ensuring that the people control the reins. This explains why when people are trying to establish a new, fairer society, one of the first things they do is write a new constitution. This is what Norway did in 1814, India in 1950, South Africa in 1996, and Colombia in 1991. Indeed, nearly all countries in the world have a constitution to establish rules for using power. On the other hand, we've seen that when a democratic government is illegally overthrown, one of the first things the coup leaders do is set their sights on destroying the Constitution. They don't want any inconvenient limits on their ability to rule by force. So the Constitution both organizes and constrains power. Now, how does it do that? Well, there are several ways. One way is to divide power between different political institutions. For example, sharing functions between a president and a prime minister, or between two houses of a legislature, or between different levels of government, the national level, the regional, state or provincial level, and the local level. A constitution defines the powers of these institutions and regulates the relationship between them. It also ensures that power is rotated. One year we may vote for one candidate or party, but after a few years, their time will be up, and we will have the chance to choose someone else. This means that no one person party, or institution can accumulate too much power or stay in power too long. It is important to maintain a strict separation between the political institutions on the one hand, such as the elected parliament and government, and on the other hand, the permanent neutral institutions of the state, such as the courts, the military, the police, and the civil service. Constitutions also constrain power by saying what governments must and must not do. For example, a set of constitutional rights may specify that you can't be tortured, that you can't be imprisoned without due cause, and that your freedom of expression can't be infringed. Other provisions may direct the government to provide for basic human needs, such as education, healthcare, sanitation, or housing. Constitutions don't only protect the majority. There may be special provisions for minorities and marginalized groups, for their security, their participation in government, and protections for their identity and culture. Most constitutions also have a nation-building function. They seek to embody national unity and to reflect and declare the identity of the nation and its people. The Constitution announces to citizens, to the government itself, and to the outside world what the nation is, what it stands for, where it has come from, and what its vision for the future might be. A good constitution is just one step along the road to a peaceful, prosperous, and democratic society, but it is a fundamental one. By setting down the rules by which the state should be governed, a good constitution helps to ensure that the democratic aspirations of a people become and remain a reality.
Okay, so listening to that, my question to you, Professor Thompson, is how strong is the Constitution of the Bahamas? If that report described the ideals of what a constitution should be, how strong is our Constitution?
You ask a very interesting question. I listened carefully to what was being said.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about different layers of government. In the Bahamas, we only have one layer of government, a national government. Of course, they talked about the local government.
And it also mentioned the two houses that,
Well,
so like, for instance, we
case,
have the House of Parliament and the Senate.
Right. We
Yeah.
have the two houses, but
Right.
you're going to find that in our system, basically you're going to find those persons in the upper house being appointed by one particular individual or one particular individual recommending the names of the majority of those persons in the upper house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And they also maintain the majority of seats in the lower house.
Mm.
That same person is, in charge there as well.
So for the most part, in other words, it's a rubber stamp.
It's a rubber stamp. That is
Based on
correct.
the will of that one person.
That is correct. And then you're also going to find how strong our Constitution is. It depends on the people that you have. When you look at what has been happening in the Bahamas, the Bahamian people have been shifting from one particular party to another particular party with a massive landslide,
Mm-hmm.
which simply means, when you look at the evidence, the Bahamian people are not satisfied with what they see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how to resolve it, that's a good question. And I believe the Bahamian people get the government of the Bahamas mixed up with their affiliation to a political party.
Mm.
Now, that has caused a lot of confusion in the country. More than 90% of our people don't know the document to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
That is a terrible thing for the Bahamian people. So they don't even know how to check on a government that they will have elected. So you will have political personalities who will say a whole lot of things, and I've been listening to them all the time. Some of them talk a lot of foolishness and nonsense, which are not constitutional, to the point where a particular personality said that he would have to violate the Constitution. And there was no stir among the people. I didn't expect much anyhow, and even the media didn't catch on to it. But that will be dealt with at a later time.
Mm-hmm.
But be that as it may, in the Bahamas, the Constitution that we have cannot be altered willy-nilly by a government except through a referendum. The majority of the articles in the document can only be changed by a referendum. That's a good thing for the Bahamian people.
Mhm.
So no government could wake up tomorrow and say, I can change it. No, don't work that way. There are one or two articles they could, like the Attorney General, they did that. Some people asked me about it. I said, no, they were right. But now when it comes to immigration laws, that's a whole kettle of fish altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to understand that the Constitution that we have today is a very good document. In fact, I put it like this. The Constitution being the supreme law of the land, it is never, ever wrong. It is always right all the time. I tell people, if you want to be right all the time, stick with your Constitution. Don't mind what people may say about it, because the Constitution allows people to express their views. There's a whole article on freedom of expression.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with that. I don't get vexed with people if they express a view. Now, the view that they may express is their opinion, their idea, their suggestion. Fine. But does that make it constitutional? It's only constitutional in the fact that they can express it. But does that mean that what they say is necessarily right and is constitutional? What they may be saying, the fact that they say it, they have a constitutional right to say it. But when it comes to actually what the Constitution says about certain things, that's a whole horse of a different color.
Let me ask you something with regard to that point, because this is the same argument that's happening now in the United States as it
Yes,
relates to the right to bear arms.
Yes.
There are some who are dead set. You know, those Americans love their guns.
Yeah, they do.
And they ain't about, you could slaughter 1 million children and they can still say, I have the right to bear arms based on the Constitution.
Yes.
But the argument on the opposite side is this. When that document was written, people weren't walking around with AK-47s
That's correct.
shooting people down
Yes.
like they in some battlefield.
Yes.
So the intent at the time that it was written does not necessarily apply to a modern day reality.
Yes. I'm
Are
happy.
we facing the same issue here in the Bahamas?
That is a very good question. We certainly are. Because, see, you go back to the intent.
Mm-hmm.
What was in the mind of the founding fathers and the people at that time in building a nation?
Within
They
context,
wanted
yes.
a nation.
Right.
They wanted a nation, some very specific things, as spelled out in the preamble, very specific, very clear points. This is the kind of nation we would like to have. A nation under the supremacy of God. They didn't want to build a nation without God.
Mhm.
Now, there are some people who got some ideas. They don't want anything to do with God or the word of God.
Mhm.
But the people at that time didn't want to move forward. In fact, when we came out of slavery in 1834, we didn't burn down the people's house or rip up the man's yard
Mhm.
and did all kind of funny things. They went right in the little chapel over there and prayed and thanked God that they were free. So in other words, the Bahamian people from that time straight on up to now, of course, we have to be very careful now, Ms. Malcolm, what we have now, because there are certain forces at work
Mhm.
that will try to rip apart what has been established. And when you remove those foundation stones,
Mhm.
you have nothing.
Right.
Everything is destroyed.
Mhm.
So we have to avoid that. Now, of course, over the last 50 years, approximately 50 years next July, the point is the Constitution has not basically changed. And the unfortunate thing is 90% plus don't know it. So we have a dilemma. Now, it does not mean that we can't do anything about it.
Mhm.
You read Article 24.1 right there.
Yeah.
The
Amendments.
last phrase of Article 24.1.
Mhm.
I always quote that because that's the only place in your Constitution where you can take action. You can ask nobody nothing. It says even at the top, except with his consent, no person shall be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expression, and so on, freedom of association. In other words, you can't take away the man's right without his approval. How could you do that? It says except with his consent. And you'll find that many of the articles say except with his consent.
Mhm.
So the thing is that the consent of the people is important. Now, we are signing all kinds of things with Malcolm. The people don't know nothing about those things.
Mhm.
I've happened to see some things. And it's a good thing I studied the document, because what has happened is I can pinpoint any law that's passed in that house or any international arrangement. This is where Article 2 kicks in. That they would have signed, and the Bahamian people know nothing about these things, whoever they had sitting at the table signing, and perhaps they themselves know nothing about the Constitution.
Mm.
You end up putting the nation in trouble. That's what you end up doing. Yes, the intent was to build a nation a certain way. Now, today in 2022, we're going to have to look at some things very strategically. You know, there's immigration problems, a very serious problem.
Mhm.
So the Bahamian people have to make some decisions. In fact, we need to demand from our elected personalities some very specific things that we want to see happen. Don't just sit back and wait for them to think about it, because any changes in this country should come from the people. That's the people's document. So it's important that they know, and I think there's an awareness from my years of experience. There's an awareness now among the Bahamian people, because I've done several lectures on the Constitution, and the interest is strong. The Bahamian people are interested in knowing what's in this document. That's a good point.
Mhm.
But now we have the bill on top of it. And I tell them, you have to act on the information, act on the knowledge that you have. So you have to give them it bits and pieces so they can digest it, so that little girl could tell grandma. That's what Professor Thompson said. See, I want the information to get right down to those little children, 5, them who say they're given the thing to,
Mhm.
5 of them. I want them to understand too, because Miss Malcolm, you cannot have any change in this country unless the average Bahamian understands this document. Otherwise, we're locked.
So you're talking about how these politicians go to these international conclaves and
Yes.
sign these agreements on behalf of the Bahamian people,
Yes.
many of which we have no knowledge of
No
until
knowledge,
we hear what the repercussions of those signatures are.
Exactly.
In a case such as that, if the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and they sign onto something that contradicts what that supreme law says, which one takes precedence?
The supreme law.
So please break that down.
No,
for
I'm
us.
glad you asked that. That's a very, very good point. Article 2 of your Constitution says any other law, international law, convention law, this law, that law, that is inconsistent with this Constitution shall prevail. Not the other law, not for them other people, right?
Hmm.
It has no standing in the Bahamas. It has no validity in the Bahamas. It is void. It's empty. It's futile. It's worthless. It's nothing. That's what we need to understand. But see, a lot of people don't understand that. So they just sit back and say, okay, we have to go with it. When I hear the Minister of Education talking about, we have to go along with some things which could be detrimental to the education of the Bahamian people.
Mhm.
You don't run a country like that. That is wrong. It's going to take the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to correct a government when they step out of line. That's why you got that last phrase in Article 24.1. The only spot in that Constitution where the people have an opportunity to take action. But the problem is they're not organized. I always tell people, you have to be organized on the ground, right in your constituency, because you know the country is divided into 39 constituencies.
Mhm.
And when you look at the document, it says those constituencies make up the Bahamas. So you're in a particular constituency. And the people living in that constituency have to understand what is in their best interest. Do not wait for a political personality to tell them what's in their best interest, because some things are happening which are hurting these people, and they only know they feel something terrible, and then they start saying, well, what can we do? There's plenty we can do. I always tell people, there is always something you can do. One, with a representative who ain't want to listen, not a problem. Two, with a government or an administration in power that fails to listen. We just do not put, Ms. Malcolm, the kind of pressure on a government, on a representative in a given constituency. And so we do not see any real, genuine change. Because I always ask the question, what major constituency problems have been solved over the last 50 years by the representative of that constituency? And here are the benefits that come to the people of that constituency as a result of these major constituency problems having been solved. Women have been handling hundreds of millions of dollars, of the people's money. And you mean to tell me the constituency is still run down and broke up after 50 years of governance? Come on, something's wrong with that. The same could be applied to the national situation. What major national problems have been solved by the government of the Bahamas? And here are the clear-cut benefits that come to the Bahamian people as a result of these major national problems having been solved. That is how I always view a government or representative. And I tell people, if ain't nothing happening for you, what's the point of having a government? What is the point of having a representative? And you're in the same broke up, downtrodden situation, and nothing has improved in your constituency. Something seriously wrong with that.
And you know what the sad thing is? That many of the constituencies that you just described who are facing that situation are some of the ones that are most entrenched in the party colors.
That is correct.
And some of the ones that have the least amount of knowledge as to the contents of the Constitution.
That is correct.
And quite frankly, Mr. Thompson, I think it's intentional. I do not believe that the powers that be want the masses to understand, one, what is their Constitution, and two, what's in it.
Yes, ma'am.
Because once they get that knowledge, then they can respond, react from a place of information.
That's why I am pushing to get 100,000 like me. If you had 100,000 like me in this country, a government would not be able to get away with any crap. Not one piece of crap. Because you will have enough people in place to keep a government in line. While I respect the wishes of the Bahamian people, because it's constitutional when they elect people to run things, I ain't got no problem with that. But now what are you doing constitutionally to help my country? It can't be where you write things on a piece of paper and say, I'm going to run things this way, when the Constitution says something totally different. I have a problem with that. Serious problem with that. Because when a government wants something for themselves, all of a sudden you see them run to the Constitution. The Constitution this, the Constitution that. That's the way they play this game. I've watched it over the years, I've seen it. Now, I happen to know better than most people. But the point is, I am not satisfied that such vast numbers of people do not know their constitutional rights. And I will do all within my power to assist and help the Bahamian people to understand this document in simple, basic, fundamental language. And it can happen. But there's a lot of hard work and commitment. And you need a lot of people involved to make it work, because you need numbers. You need bodies. You need people. You need people united for a specific cause, a national cause, a constituency cause, for the benefit of your constituency. A person may be a member of a political party, that's one. But that same person is also a representative in the House of Assembly or in the upper house as a senator. But that's two roles the person is playing. So how are you getting it all mixed up? You in the Catholic Church, you go to Catholic Church on Sunday. then BDC, you go to BDC on Monday. You don't get that mixed up. So how come we get it mixed up? You see what I'm saying? I always draw those simple analogies to Bahamian people. You know when to go to church on Sunday, and then Monday you go to BDC or wherever you happen to work. See, those analogies I draw what the people could understand and say, oh, I see what Professor Thompson is saying. But the thing is that the Constitution is foreign to too many of our people. And that has to be changed so that we can move the country forward. That's why you hear people always talk about what the vision is. The vision of your country is in the Constitution, in the preamble. That's what the vision is. The purpose why the nation was born is written right there. What you should be doing as a nation is written right there. And when I look at these writings from these political organizations, I say, well, what is in here? I've been checking them over the years, you know. Not a single word about the Constitution. Not a word. Not a single word, Ms. Malcolm. Just look at the latest ones they put out. See if you see anything in there about the Constitution. If anyone knows that something there about the Constitution, you better call me and tell me. Because I examine these things very carefully before I say anything publicly. Because, see, I don't want to mislead the Bahamian people. If you ask me a constitutional question and I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I got to check that one out. And when I do my lectures, I can tell you there's a lot of heat inside that room. And people are firing questions left, right, and center. And I always tell people, any constitutional question is a good one. Nothing wrong with that. The people are hungry for knowledge. They want to understand. They want to change things. But we have to help them to change it. They just can't snap the finger like that and say, okay, change it. It don't work that way. We have to help our brothers and sisters. And I always do simple tests all the time. That's why I could tell you it's 90% plus. Because I know. I've been doing it for years. But we have to get out of that rut and come to realize political parties, one thing. Government of the Bahamas, another thing. Representation in the Senate, one thing. Representation in the House of Assembly, another thing. But we sometimes get all mixed up. We don't know the difference. And then some other things coming up. Well, I won't talk about that right now. I'll leave that one.
All right, we got to take a break. But you know, all of this reminds me of what the good book says, which is where there is no vision,
the people perish.
The people perish.
Yes,
but in our case, we ain't perishing because there is no vision. We perishing because we don't know what the vision says.
Exactly. That's correct.
So our goal is to try to bring you some information so you can have a better understanding of what your Constitution says. And obviously, we ain't gonna get to all of this in one show because we even ain't get to the preamble yet, and it's already, you know, the first section of the show already gone. So with Mr. Thompson's permission, I'd like to bring him back on several times so that we can try to dig into this and get to the meat so that you can fully understand what your Constitution says and how it benefits you. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we are going to try to turn our attention to that preamble and other matters as it relates to your Constitution. Stay with us. This is GPS.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder, to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rims fix and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here, along with my guest, Professor Sydney Thompson. We are talking about the Constitution, why it's important for you to know and understand your Constitution, because you have some inherent rights. And if you don't know your rights, you can't benefit from them. That reminds me, Professor, of a story I once heard that really demonstrates this in a simple way for people to understand why you need to know your rights as it relates to the Constitution. This story centers around the Titanic. Was it the Titanic? Anyway, no, not necessarily the Titanic, but some very large cruise ship back in the day, not nowadays, not, but when these big fancy cruise ships used to transport people from Europe to the United States. And so there was a poor man who wanted to make his way to the United States, and he saved up all of the money that he could just to be able to get a ticket to get onto the boat. And he saved up all his money, he bought a ticket, and he got onto the boat. And he had prepared as much food as he could for this long journey. And every day at dinner time, he would go and he would watch the people go into dinner and enjoy this wonderful meal while he ate his crackers and whatever else he had. And this went on for the long journey. So finally, the last day of the trip, one of the gentlemen was walking out of the dining room, and he comes up to him and he says, "Why don't you like us?" So the gentleman says, "Sir, what do you mean? I don't know you. What do you mean?" He says, "Why have you refused to dine with us this whole trip?" And he said, "But sir, I couldn't afford to buy the food. I could only afford the ticket. And so I brought what I could to eat to sustain me for the journey." And the gentleman says, "Oh my goodness, you don't understand. The meals were included in the price of the ticket."
Yeah.
So that entire trip, he was surviving on crackers, not understanding that based on his ticket, he had rights.
He had rights, yes.
But because he did not know that, he forfeited those rights.
Exactly.
Is that what we're dealing with here?
That's right. That's exactly what we're dealing with. And it's a very serious issue because it's gone from one generation to the next.
Mm-hmm.
And that perpetuates the problem. And when you have a lot of misinformation going out on the Constitution by persons who I would suppose ought to know better, that even aggravates the situation. And because I've heard some very irresponsible statements being made on radio, put in the press, and so on and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
where people have been saying things. I remember one particular personality who said some things which were not constitutionally correct. And I called into the show and I asked a few questions. I didn't answer the questions. I asked him the questions because he's the host of the show. So you want me to answer them? I said, no. You're the host of the show. You tell the Bahamian people. I said, I'm asking questions. So I could learn too. Now I knew the answers to the questions. But the thing is, if you're not sure, just say to the people you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell them. Or you could go and check it out. But when people are misled, and some Bahamians have some entrenched things in their head because of a lack of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the gentleman who did not know that all those wonderful meals he missed
Mm-hmm.
was already paid for by him,
Mm-hmm.
and he lost out.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing is happening today in our country, where we have entrenched constitutional rights in our land, but we are not utilizing them because, one, we're not aware of them, we don't understand them, and that's a drawback for the Bahamian people. This is 50 years down the road now. We have to correct that problem because the country needs to grow. It cannot grow at the rate we're going now, at the kind of lack of understanding that's among our people. We have to change that.
Now, is that, in your opinion, by design, that we are not educating our people from the primary school level on up about the Constitution and how it affects them?
That is a very good question, and I answer it this way. I always say to the people, you have elected leaders. For example, like the Minister of Education from 1967 right on up to now. Ask them why. Ask your government why. Ask your representative why. These are the people who should be answering the questions. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Whether it's by design, I think we can see the evidence there. Because no government that I know of, and I've been from the beginning there, from 67 right on up to now, that I know of, has really taken any serious view to making sure that the education of this document goes to the Bahamian people.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some specific things outlined in your preamble. National commitment to do something. National commitment to do another thing. National commitment. That's the duty of the government of the Bahamas to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I know, and I've been there all the time, it has not happened.
We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good day, Michelle. How you doing today?
Excellent. How are you?
Good. Thank God. Thank God for life.
Amen.
Sorry about that. Good day, Sydney. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well.
It's JT calling in. You know, I've said it on your show before, Michelle, that as a Bahamian, I am very, very, very upset at the Pendling administration for not having placed in our schools within the first 5 years of their reign as in an independent Bahamas, the Constitution of this country. It is true that the Pendling administration did a lot of good. They did a lot of good. Sorry about that. I had something down the wrong pipe. Sorry about that. They did a lot of good, but they also did a lot of wrong, either intentionally or by happenstance. There is no way on God's green earth nobody will ever be able to convince JT that the pending administration did not understand the value and necessity of putting the very constitution in the school system that they fought for the masses to have. You can't tell me that it was just something that they fought for as an elusive goal. Nobody can ever convince me that pending those, he who was a trained attorney, he who was a Bahamian, he who was a freedom fighter, did not realize that it was so necessary for the people to understand the very document upon which their country was founded. You can't tell me they didn't know these things or they didn't realize these things. So for me, the question I would ask, and Michelle, you indicated it just now, alluded to it. Why did they not place the Constitution in the education system? Why did they not do that? A few weeks ago, I had occasion to be in a workshop wherein the Constitution was being talked about, and Articles 1 and 2 of the Constitution, I hope you all will get to that today, but when I heard those two articles read, I can't quote them, I don't even really know them off the top of my head, but it was like, these are things that every single Bahamian ought already to know. Every single family, every single home. And the fact that we are 50 years later as a country, do not know what the Constitution says. Many of us do not know that the Bahamas has been established on Christian values, which makes it a Christian nation. It says to me, there had to have been some ungodly move afoot that was behind the refusal to put the Constitution in the schools. I will make one last comment, then I'll hang up because I'd like to hear, what Sydney's comments would be. And my last comment is this. The preamble of our country's Constitution indeed is the foundation of that document. The preamble of our country's Constitution is the national mandate for the country. And I heard an attorney in that very seminar a few weeks ago say the very same thing, that the preamble is our country's mandate. And when I read when I go over the Constitution myself, I wish to God I could quote the preamble, but unfortunately I can't. But when I go over that every now and then, and I look at the tail end of it, where it says, and by these articles, meaning the articles that are in the body of the document, by these articles, it causes me to realize how powerful, how strong, and how wise the drafters of the Constitution were when they drafted that preamble. Because you cannot have a house without a foundation. Nothing in life can exist without a foundation. Otherwise, if you try to make that happen, the walls are going to crumble eventually because the foundation would not be there to hold it up. And the preamble holds up the body of the Constitution, all of those articles in it. And I'm going to hang up and I'll listen to Sydney and you continue to talk, but I look forward to hearing you guys talk about the preamble. Michelle, this is my passion as well, because I'm always bringing these issues about the Constitution up, at least the preamble. So I look forward to hearing it, and hopefully you guys will get the Articles 1 and 2 today. But thank you for the time, and I'll listen.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. What are your thoughts on what he had to say, Sydney?
He made some very interesting comments, and he asked some very interesting questions. Why certain things were not done. I believe those questions need to be directed to the persons who were responsible for
Who
the
are
running
still
of the
alive.
nation.
Mhm.
Now, since it has not been done, fast forward now to 2022, what then do people do? Are we going to still sit and wait? Because we haven't heard any answers. Okay, nothing has come forth. We have a few of the founding fathers still around. And it would be interesting to hear what they have to say. But the point is, we have to go by what's in the document itself. Now, what has to happen now is that the Bahamian people have to take the necessary action. That is essential. Article 24.1, that last part of Article 24.1, I always quote that every time when I talk about changing anything in this Constitution. That's the only article you have.
Break it down for our audience what that says.
It says at the very bottom of the article, for the protection of your interest. Do we have an interest? Do we have anything to protect? If we have nothing to protect, then we could keep doing what we're doing now.
Mhm.
If we have something to protect, what is in the interest of ourselves, our families, our children, our communities, our nation? Do we have any interests that we need to protect for future generations?
Absolutely, we do.
We certainly do. So therefore, then, it is going to take an organized movement of people. Just like all those people who went to BDC, they all don't go to the same church. But look at the harmony you have at BDC to get the job done. So why can't we do that in the country? What's wrong with us?
Separate and apart from politics.
Separate and apart from politics, yes. But you have an harmonious relationship with the people who work to BTC or the people that work to BEC or the BPL, that's what they call it now.
Regardless of their political affiliations.
Regardless of their political affiliations. Doesn't even come to play. So how is it then we could be sitting down 50 years later, don't understand our rights, our freedoms, our privileges, and all of these things happening at the constituency level, at the national level? Because, Michelle, I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to be severely tried and tested ahead of us. Because there are forces at work that are trying to do everything to take what we have. Now, Bahamians, you have to realize, and I'll tell you one thing about the office of Prime Minister, and I say this often publicly. The office of Prime Minister is like a gigantic octopus that spreads its tentacles in every single facet of Bahamian life. Every single facet of the Bahamian life. That office penetrates into it. No ifs, no ands, no buts. So we have to be careful who sits in that office. It's a very powerful office. Enormous powers. And the only persons who can really keep tabs on it are those that sit in the House of Assembly. But if persons who sit in the House of Assembly are looking for one position as a chairman of a board or some other position they want to have, ambassadorial position, you know, members of the House got ambassadorial positions too now. So if that's what we're going to be looking for, instead of representing our people, looking out for our national interests, we can have the problem repeated over and over and over again. The only checks and balances you have on the office of Prime Minister are those that sit in the House of Assembly. Now, if they're jellyback representatives, you have trouble. We have seen hardcore evidence of what happens when you have inefficient representation. All kinds of things happen. When a head of a government is allowed to run roughshod over everybody.
We have to take a break. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the break.
Yes, ma'am.
Because what we have to discuss, and then we're going to get into the preamble,
Yes,
is
ma'am.
why constitutions matter. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the break, because you have to get If you don't get that, then you won't get anything you won't understand anything that we're discussing today.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to talk about why it matters to have a good constitution, and then we're going to dive into the preamble. So I could then tell you now, Mr. Thompson, I'm going to have to get you on again real soon, because we only get hit the tip of the iceberg today.
The tip of the iceberg. I realize that. Yes, ma'am.
All right, stay with us. This is GPS. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting sugar-free berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklife, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z-Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z-Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z-Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z-Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here, along with my special guest today, Professor Sydney Thompson. We're talking about the Constitution of the Bahamas. And the idea behind this show is to give you knowledge, to empower you to understand, number one, what that document is, number two, why it's important to you, and number three, why you need to know what's in it so that you can take full advantage of it. The telephone numbers to call if you want to get in on the conversation, 3260271, 3260271, 3260271, or 3260272, 3260272. And the WhatsApp line to send us a message is 8010271, 8010271. Now, very important in this conversation, we need to understand why a constitution matters. I want you to listen very carefully to this next clip.
They say that a constitution can change things. But how? After all, a constitution cannot build a road, school a child, provide drinking water, or heal the sick. Yet constitutions have a profound effect on how well a country functions and, as a result, on the quality of life of its citizens. The state needs a powerful engine to do the things that we need it to do, but that power has to be under control. A good constitution keeps the power of the state under public control. It puts the people in the driver's seat, ensuring that the government represents and is responsible to ordinary citizens. To understand the difference that a good constitution can make, let's look at the fictional country of Ruritania, as it was 10 years ago. Ruritania has many problems. Unemployment is high, opportunities are few, young people are angry, old people live in despair, and it's a mess. There's garbage on the streets. Often there's no electricity. The roads are full of potholes. The schools are overcrowded, and the sick cannot get the care they need. People are not treated with respect. And for minorities, it's even worse if they don't speak the language or practice the religion of the majority. The courts and the administration are corrupt. And if you don't have a connection or the money for a bribe, you'll always be at the back of the line. Why is this so? Well, it's not because Ruritania is poor. It has lots of resources. Those who are in charge, who are well connected and close to power, have plenty of money. They feast while the poor go hungry. They run Ruritania for their own personal benefit, not for the benefit of the people. And at the head of the table sits the president, the old man. He's been in charge as long as anyone can remember. He's got the country exactly where he wants it, in his pocket and under his heel. Elections are a farce. Anyone who dares to speak out ends up in jail. The whole system is broken. So where did it all go wrong? Part of the fault lies with the almost limitless power in the hands of the president and his cronies. His presence overshadows the country. There's no limit on the number of times he can be re-elected, and there are few restraints on what he can do. Under his reign, Parliament has no real power, and the courts have limited independence. There's nothing stopping the president from appointing his brother as head of the army, or his cousins and nephews as ambassadors and judges, or handing out state contracts to his friends. The Constitution is too weak to protect the people. It provides no real constraints on the president's abuse of power. Instead of empowering the people, the Constitution suppresses them. The state has become their master instead of being their servant. But fortunately, that's not how the story ended. 5 years ago, the people of Ruritania rose up when they heard that the president was planning to install his son in his place. They knew that their hopes for dignity, justice, equality, and rights would not be realized by simply replacing one dictator with another. They needed to change the rules, so they wrote a new constitution, the foundation upon which a democratic Ruritania would be built. Despite their differences, many groups from across society came together to identify 5 common goals for constitutional change. The most important thing was to reduce the president's excessive power, so they limited his powers in relation to Parliament and the courts, and his ability to make appointments. They introduced term limits so that in the future, a president can only serve 2 terms before someone else must replace him. Another urgent need was to empower people to participate in the political process. So the Constitution allowed the free formation of political parties to give them real choices in future elections. It also created an independent electoral commission to ensure that future elections would be free and fair. Thirdly, they sought to ensure the independence of the judiciary and the due process of law in order to strengthen human rights. This would enable the people to express their views without fear and bring to an end the injustices of the past. The fourth need was to give all citizens a seat at the table. Religious and ethnic minorities, women, and others who were previously excluded were able to insist on new constitutional rules that would protect their rights and ensure their representation in Parliament. Lastly, they agreed that rural areas and the provinces had been ignored, so the new constitution decentralized power, giving local communities more say in their own affairs. Ruritania still isn't perfect, but now the population no longer lives in silence and fear. Increased opportunities for democratic participation enable people to decide what matters to them and their communities. Open competition for political office means that the government must respond to public demands for education, healthcare, and decent roads. If those in power don't listen, or if they don't deliver, they can be voted out. Thanks to the new constitution, the people now have the tools they need to build themselves a brighter future.
So listening to that clip, I thought, boy, Ruritania sounded a lot like the Bahamas in many aspects.
Yeah.
But as we sit here talking to Professor Thompson today, I'm understanding that our problem isn't identical to Ruritania because Ruritania had a weak constitution.
Yeah.
Our problem is that we have a good constitution, but because the people don't understand or know what that constitution says, it allows for abuses of the constitution, as some of what we saw in that imaginary land of Ruritania, where you have all of these abuses. Many of them sounded a lot like the Bahamas, I have to say, Mr. Thompson. So if our problem is different in that we have a good constitution, but we just have been doing a poor job of putting persons in place to oversee the execution of that constitution, where do we go from here? What do we have to do?
That is a good point that you raised. We have been doing a very poor job in sending persons to do our national affairs, to represent us in the House of Assembly, to represent us in the Senate. The situation in our country is such where we're so politically polarized. We just can't see the difference between a political party, one, and a government, two. Even ministers of the government don't even have a clear understanding of that. All you do is listen to what they have to say, Just listen to the things that come out of their mouth. Listen to the way how they speak in the House of Assembly. This is a vexing problem that has persisted for decades. The point is the fact that the people need now to know, which will bring the change that we so desperately need. People need to stop tying themselves to a political personality and believing that whatever that political personality says to them is right. The Constitution is right. It is always right. But then if you don't know, it creates a problem. Now we got to stop knowing. This is 2022. We got to start knowing. We're going to have to look at ourselves, look at our constituencies. The people themselves have to ask themselves, what is it that we would like to see happen in our constituencies? What is it that we'd like to see happen in our government? That's what we have to do. We just can't sit back and wait for some other fellow to do it because it will never get done. So it's going to mean, and that's why I go back again, Article 24.1, that last phrase of Article 24.1 of your Constitution, which talk about protecting your interests. If you have an interest, say, for example, the people in Centerville, what is it that the people of Centerville want to do to make Centerville better? Are we going to just sit there and allow a political personality to determine what our future is going to be like? Or let's say the people in Engliston. What are we going to do? We just sit right there and allow all these things to keep piling on top of us, making life miserable for us, and we do nothing about it. So it's going to take action by the people themselves to bring change. Now, what we have to our advantage is we have some persons who went before us, who did some things, put us in a good position. That's why we have the strong constitution that we have. We just need to find the appropriate personalities to run our national affairs in our best interest, and we have to keep tabs on a government, one, on a representative, two, and when they are stepping out of line, we're going to have to say, no, sir, that can't be. That must stop now. If you do not chastise a government, you do not chastise a representative, they'll keep doing foolishness.
Absolutely. We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Thompson.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well, you know. Mr. Thompson, what do you think went wrong in the last election? Tell me, man, because I'm still trying to figure it out.
There's something else.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll tell you, I did 15 shows live on the same radio station before the last general election. You know what I did? I wanted to help the Bahamian people to understand facts, not gossip, not rumor, not hearsay. And I believe the station that I got to get copies of those tapes. But the point is, people were telling me how strong those tapes were. Those messages were to them. See, I wasn't taking no chances, you know. I heard a lot of things that were happening. I said, no. I'm going to help the Bahamian people to assist them in understanding hardcore evidence. You leave nothing to chance, and then they'll make a determination of where they want to go. If you have, that's why you always hear me quote Article 24.1. If you have an interest in your country, in your constituency, then you need to take action.
But Mr. McCartney, that the words don't pay them bills. Believe me, the country is hurting. The political parties have made it so that the people need money. So when you see a time for election, they always come up with the money. You understand? They come up with that bag, the money, and they give it out to the people. And I've seen this myself. I've heard of it. I've never seen the bag itself, but I've heard how they give to the what they call the generals. The generals go in the area and give to the people and promise them things. And once they do that, they go with that political party. So you see, talking about Constitution, all this stuff, these people ain't checking for them, Mr. Thompson. Yeah. They're more interested in that money. You understand?
We have to get people, sir, to see the big picture. Okay? If you're going to keep falling for a couple of cents, then you're not going to get any better. We have to let them see how important it is to make sound decisions and good judgments. You can't keep falling for a couple of dollars. You're like a prostitute. That's what you are.
And a cheap one at that.
A cheap one, yes. Yeah, so it takes education. See, I hear those kind of remarks being said.
Yes,
that's fine. That's all well and good. But now how do we move to help these very same people who are being sold out for whatever reason for a couple of dollars to come to understand that has no value to you, that has no value to your children?
Well, all I can tell you is keep talking about Mr. Thompson. I've made a political decision that these people are only about the money, the almighty dollar. I've seen a lady who was homeless, living in a car, and I watched her come off the bus with a yellow shirt on and go in the road PLP. Now, I don't know what they promised her, what they gave her, but she sold her soul to the devil. I was so ashamed when I saw her. I only could hang my head down and say, boy, I see the country is lost. The country is lost because these political parties uses the people when it's time for elections. They use them. They send out the money and they give them parties and they give them alcohol, and that's it for them. After that, they're back to square one. But let's pray one day God changes it, Mr. Thompson. Okay, that's all I call to say.
Okay.
Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you.
I want to read a comment from one of our Facebook viewers. This is from someone in the Rastafari community. It's Mickelin Bow. He says, what happens when you are denied your constitutional right by the government? We in the Rastafari community are now having to sue the government to recognize our constitutional rights. It's so bad till a magistrate judge had to stop a case and send it to a higher court to make sure she wouldn't be taking our rights from us. I know Bahamians don't care because we're Rastafari, but what they do to us, if allowed, next it will be your rights being taken.
You're going to find, Ms. Malcolm, that you may have to take that kind of action against a representative or even a government. That is something you have to expect. And the Bahamian people have to be prepared for that, because I'm going to tell them right now, we can have some serious challenges, the likes we've never seen before. And the issue with the gentleman who just called, I understand that. And it's a concern for them because of what they believe. And that's fine. The Constitution allows for people to have freedom of religion and so on. But the point is, the country is going to be severely tried and tested. That is yet to come. We haven't seen it yet, but it's on its way. And it's going to not be good if we are not ready and prepared to do something about it. We're going to suffer. But we can avoid that if we begin to learn to understand what it is that we have in this document, which is so valuable and priceless, that we can stand on it and we will be able to be victorious.
Before we dive into the preamble, I have a quick question. Who primarily benefits from the contents of the Constitution? Do you have to be a citizen of a country to benefit from the Constitution, or can persons who are not citizens benefit as well?
That is an interesting question. I can answer it from the Constitution.
Okay.
It says any person. It doesn't say any citizen, any resident. It says any person. That is, persons in the country. Now, you got some here who are illegal.
Right.
But you should not mistreat persons who may be here illegally. It says these rights, what's entrenched in the Constitution, it says any person. Now, there's some things that apply to citizens. That's understandable. But it's a very interesting question that you asked, and I'm glad you asked that. So it applies to persons in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's what your Constitution says.
That is fascinating. All right. Good stuff. Okay, so now let's get into this preamble. What is the preamble of the Constitution? What role does the preamble play, in the overall scheme of the entire document? How important is that preamble? What is the preamble, and what role does it play?
That's a very good question. The preamble is your vision statement. The preamble lays out the vision for your country, what type country you should have. If you don't have that kind of foundation, you don't have any country. You have nothing. See, anything can happen where people come up today, they got an idea in their head. We can put that in. The next one come tomorrow, he has an idea in his head, he can put that in. We can't run like a nation like that. That's why we all mixed up now, because people are questioning, what is the vision for the Bahamian people? The vision was already entrenched in your Constitution. It's been there from the beginning. What this nation should look like 50 years down the road. What are the responsibilities of the government of the Bahamas? Notice what I said, the government of the Bahamas. There is a reason for a government. There's a reason for the citizenry. In fact, you will find with the representative in a given constituency, the way how the Constitution is set up, that representative has to work in cooperation with the government of the Bahamas. That's how the document is set up. So he's not there to operate independent of, by himself, or of himself from the government. It doesn't work that way. The government of the Bahamas has the overall responsibility. In fact, it says the cabinet. The cabinet of the Bahamas has overall control of the government. Overall, notice these clear words now. Overall direction, overall control of the government. Those words are very, very important. And I when I look at this thing, I get excited because the government has serious responsibilities to the Bahamian people. You can't take a lax attitude with these conventions and this thing and that thing and despise Article 2 of your Constitution. That makes no sense. But you have people signing things, say on behalf of the Bahamas, persons who may not even be knowledgeable about the Constitution, persons who the government may say, fine. And then another thing, Ms. Malcolm, we don't have any standards. What is this qualification for an ambassador? And then you got ambassador at large now. Then you got high commission. And so these are things we have to look at in 2022 going forward and make some hard decisions, because everything is left up in the hands of particularly one personality. While it may have been good back then, if you get a rogue in that office, you're in deep trouble. And the possibility is wide open as I speak to you right now for rogue to get in that office. Because we haven't changed anything, you know. This thing has been so for 50 years.
Why is it so hard to change a constitution? Because that's not an easy process.
No, it isn't.
Why is it?
I am happy that the founding fathers did it like that.
Mhm.
It's for our protection.
They did it for a reason.
They did it for a reason. It's our protection. I just love the way how they set it up. Because now you have a government that is looking at saying, okay, we lost 2 referendums. When you see a government trying to change some things, not going back to the people to get their consent, that's a dangerous thing to do.
Very dangerous precedent.
Extremely dangerous. And the people need to watch that now. Because, you know, when the election was held last September, right? The party that won didn't say, maybe this is a mistake. We got 32 seats. Maybe we only should get half of that. And maybe the X go to the next people. Prior to that, the party that won got 35 out of 39. They didn't say nothing, say, well, maybe a mistake was made. All of a sudden now people had a referendum and they voted, and you're talking about mistake? They didn't understand? You got some people outside the country telling you the people didn't know what they were doing? But you ain't say nothing when you got those 32 seats. You didn't say nothing when you got 35 seats.
It was
See
a
that?
mistake then.
No, it wasn't a mistake then. No. See, when it suits a party, they run to the Constitution. Oh, we got this mandate to run the affairs. Yes, you have the mandate to run affairs. I'm not knocking that. But how you run them? How do you handle the people? How you handle the affairs of this country? That's what's important. Because the people look to the government of the Bahamas to deal with these issues, to solve these problems. You tell people, don't take the matters into your own hand. Fine. But where's my protection? Where is it? These are things we need to ask ourselves. And when a government isn't performing, the people have a right to put the pressure on that government, to put the pressure on the representative to say, listen, ain't nothing happening here. Let's get this thing straight. And I believe we start doing that as of today, you'll see changes. But over the last 50 years plus, well, let's say all the way from 67 right on up to now, that's 55 years, going on 56, I have seen where Bahamian people, the electorate of this country, maybe it's a lack of understanding, and I accept that. That's why I'm going to do my level best to get them to understand so changes can be made. It will help me too, because I'm suffering because of lack of understanding. I need 100,000 like me. Then we really see some change in this place. But since they don't know, we say, okay, 2022, we got to start knowing. It's just as simple as that. It's no point complaining about the fact if the fellas don't tell you why they didn't do this, why they didn't do that. You have a right to know now. I'm not knocking that, but I ain't gonna waste time with that. I see where we are today in 2022, and it's not good.
Agreed.
We have to change it.
Agreed. You know, when I was growing up, because you're talking about this information being entrenched even from the smallest child.
Yes.
And there is a way to do this so that you can explain this at even the level of a child. And,
Of course you can.
And different audiences, you explain it
Yes.
at their level. When I was growing up, there used to be this series of cartoons that used to come on, little mini cartoons that used to come on in between, like during the commercial breaks of your
Yes.
favorite cartoons. Now, obviously, they were addressed to an American audience. And so the education that those cartoons provided was for the American system.
Yes.
But I remember, I think it used to be called Schoolhouse Rock. I remember commercials, well, not commercials, but little videos geared towards children. One in particular stands out. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, now. And that little cartoon
Yes.
explained to the children of the United States how that whole system of, you know, a bill having to be passed and having to
Yes.
go from this house to the
Yes.
next house and then go to the
Yes.
president. It broke it down in such a way. It was a cute little cartoon. I remember the little bill sitting on the steps of Capitol Hill.
Yes, ma'am.
And they put it in such a way that as children, we understood. We had a better understanding of the American system
Than our own.
than our own.
That's correct. That is correct. And that is what we need to correct today, because this Constitution can be broken down. Now they have it on the internet with all this legal language. What I've done was stripped it of all the legalese, because the average person in Baytown ain't gonna read that. We have to make it applicable to even the primary school children,
Yes.
the little children in the kindergarten. It can be done.
Yeah, of course.
So that's not really an impossible situation. But we have to look at the harsh reality of where we are now and say, listen, we have to do something about this situation. This is a very serious situation, because if we don't do anything about it very quickly, we're going to have such challenges in our country. We may end up losing a lot of the freedoms and the privileges which we are entitled to right now. And then you find it's a whole different system that's replaced.
Oh, dear Lord.
And you don't need that.
No, that is a
You don't
very
need that at
sobering
all.
thought. Very sobering
And so
thought.
if we don't come to understand the dire strait our people are in, as far as not knowing this most valuable document next to the Holy Bible, your Constitution, we just can't let that sit like that. And I get very disturbed. See, when you know better, you would be disturbed. And when you have people talking nonsense and foolishness, well, that's another thing again. A lot of times I just don't bother to answer it. But when I say anything, I want to say something positive to help the thousands of people out there who don't know, because they're misled. But there's lots of misinformation on the Constitution that has been perpetrated in this country, which is not true. Never was true, because they heard it from somebody who thought they knew, and come to find out it isn't so. And that is very disturbing.
So all you have to do is have some good charisma, and you could mislead a whole
You could
generation.
mislead a whole, yes, ma'am, said a lot of people mislead them. And then the damage has been done. And it takes a long time to correct that, because once you fill people's minds with negativity, that negativity stays in there, and it's very hard to remove it. Not impossible, but very difficult to remove it.
Wow. All right, we got to take another break. Mr. Thompson, you believe only 30 minutes left in the show? And we ain't get to the preamble
We ain't
yet?
got the preamble yet, yes.
Good Lord, help
You're quite
us.
right. Boy, this is something else.
We can talk about the preamble, but I promise we're going to get to the preamble
Yes.
on the other side of the break. Stay with us. This is GPS. My guest today, the one and only Professor Sydney Walter MacArthur Thompson, or Cindy
Sydney MacArthur.
Cindy MacArthur.
Walter Thompson.
Walter Thompson.
Yeah.
That's
Put
a
all those
heavy
names
name.
in there. Oh, that's very heavy. My mom, my pa, and my grandaunt.
All right.
They named me. So when I go on there, I always use the entire name, Sydney MacArthur Walter Thompson. There's only one of them on the planet.
Only one. And,
Only
he's,
one,
and
yes.
he's in the house here
Yes,
on
ma'am.
GPS. We're talking Constitution. We'll be back after this. Stay with us.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here, along with Professor Sydney MacArthur Walter Thompson.
You got it right.
And we're here breaking down we're supposed to be breaking down the Constitution, but the conversation has been so riveting. Just getting to that, we clearly are going to have to do more than just this one show. Now, we got to talk about the preamble, because a lot of people say, oh, this is a Christian nation, or oh, this, all the preamble says. But many people either don't know what's in the preamble or don't understand what is in the preamble. And as you so eloquently put it, the preamble is really the foundation of the house.
Yes.
So we have to at least know what's in the preamble. It's not very long.
No, it isn't.
And I'm going to read it for you. The telephone numbers to call in case you want to jump in on this conversation: 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, or the WhatsApp line is 8010271, 8010271. Okay, let me read the preamble of the Constitution of the Bahamas. Whereas 481 years ago, the rediscovery of this family of islands, rocks, and keys heralded the rebirth of the New World. And whereas the people of the family islands recognize that the preservation of their freedom will be guaranteed by a national commitment to self-discipline, industry, loyalty, unity, and an abiding respect for Christian values and the rule of law. Now know ye therefore, we, the inheritors of and successors to this family of islands, recognizing the supremacy of God and believing in the fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual, do hereby proclaim in solemn praise the establishment of a free and democratic sovereign nation founded on spiritual values and in which no man, woman, or child shall ever be slave or bondsman to anyone, or their labor exploited, or their lives frustrated by deprivation, and do hereby provide by these articles for the indivisible unity and creation under God of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Okay, so the first thing I got to ask you is, what is the Commonwealth of the Bahamas as it relates to what we just read? And what is the relationship of the Bahamas to the New World?
That's an excellent question. In fact, we are so set by God that we're in a unique position. And it's going to take us to understand what that uniqueness is, the old world and the new world. In fact, when Columbus came, he set his foot here in the Bahamas. He was looking for a place, but he ended up here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The mere fact that he landed here puts us in a very unique position, because now we're the gateway to the new world.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing is that if we don't understand our positioning geographically as a people, we miss out on a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
There is a specific reason as to why God set the Bahamas where it is.
This was not a mistake.
Not a mistake at all. It's for our benefit. And that's why it is so important that we understand what God has blessed us with. See, the people always wanted a nation under God. They didn't want to build no nation
separate and apart
from God.
Mm-hmm.
God must play a part in our national life, in the governance of this country, in the way we do things. Yes, we have freedom of religion. Yes, we have freedom to other persons like that. That's because of the fact we believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
We allow it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
In other countries, it doesn't happen. So we are under the authority of God. Christian values. These values are biblically based values. For those who don't know, because I can tell you that's what the people are. They had their Bible in their hand in 1834 when they went to the church. And from that time up to now, that's what the people believed in. They always prayed to God and thanked God. So you had a group of people who wanted to build a nation. But how do we go about building it? Should we just go with this philosophy, that philosophy? No. We're going with God. We're going to have our trust and confidence in God, in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. So what it has done is puts us in a very unique position. That's why when we became an independent nation, it says you are a royal priesthood. The first sermon that was preached, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, to show forth the praises of God from this place right here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Why is it that so many people want to come here? And yet some people who come here say we still treating them bad.
Everybody want a piece of this rock.
They want a piece of this rock. So there's something about the Commonwealth of the Bahamas that we as Bahamians may be missing because we are so close to the forest, we can't see the trees. But them fellas out there see the forest.
Mhm.
And they recognize the trees. But the point is that we as Bahamians, God gave this place to the Bahamas. In fact, God said the boundaries of all nations. We happen to be a string of islands, 100,000 square miles of ocean. That's our territory. So what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do with it? We need God's guidance to be able to deal with it. We can't deal with our own human intellect or for some what other people tell us. Well, I don't believe in no God. You can't do nothing for you. God has preserved us. God has protected us in spite of our weaknesses, in spite of our shortcomings, because God has a place for us right here in the Commonwealth of Bahamas. We have to see the importance of our geography. We have to see the importance of our place in this world today. But without God, we won't know.
Yeah, birthplace of the New World. Here's the thing. We often were taught about the story of Columbus and his quote unquote discovery, which was not really a
Yes.
discovery, but that's another show.
That's another show, yeah.
But his men were about to. There was about to be a mutiny.
Yeah, that's
because they
correct.
felt that he was wrong, that they were going to fall over the edge of the earth, and they would all perish, and they were about to do him in.
That's right.
When right before that night, as they sailed, someone spotted a glimmer of light.
That's right.
There was darkness, but somebody spotted a glimmer of light, and that's how they knew that there was land close by.
Yes.
And I always interpret that to mean that the Bahamas, albeit a small string of islands that make up this nation,
Yes.
we were strategically placed for a reason. This nation is supposed to serve, I believe, as a glimmer of light.
Yes.
Particularly when the world gets to be a dark place, and it's becoming increasingly that.
That's correct.
I believe our role, I believe that was symbolic of the role that this nation is supposed to
be
play
playing.
in a global space.
Yes. And when the astronauts go into outer space,
Mhm.
when they look down this place, the only place they can see is the Bahamas. No other place. The Bahamas stands out unique.
Mhm.
That should tell us something.
Mhm.
See, God has positioned us for a specific cause and purpose. Now we have to understand from the scriptures why God has done that. There's a specific reason for us existing as a nation under God.
There's a purpose for us being here.
Exactly. And that's what we need to understand. We have to take our role in nation building very seriously. We've been very careless with it, but
Mhm.
God has been merciful to us and given us the opportunity to say, repent, turn our ways over to Him, listen to Him, follow Him, and build a nation that would please Him. We can work with our neighbors now, nothing wrong with that. But the point is, we can't displease God and then say to please your neighbor. That's the trouble.
Mhm. We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Hi, Michelle,
Hello.
and good afternoon to Mr. Sydney MacArthur Walter Thompson.
Yes, sir. How are you?
You are a distinguished gentleman in the presence of royalty as it relates to the hostess of this show, Michelle Malcolm, and her GPS Live family,
Yes.
between 2 and 4. We love this woman.
Thank you.
Anyway, First Peter, Michelle, speaking about the last thing you spoke about with the preamble, I didn't get to hear the whole show, I'm sorry. But I just want to leave this with this glorious people of this country. If you allow me, just briefly read these words. Dear friends, I urge you as aliens and strangers in the world to abstain from sinful desires which war against your soul. live such good lives among the heathen pagans that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify Yahweh Elohim, God, on the day He visits us. Last but not least, submit yourselves, ourselves, for the Lord's sake, to every authority instituted among our human family, whether to the king as the supreme authority, and finally, or to governors who are sent by him to punish those who do wrong and to commend those who do right. 49 years ago, 4 plus 9 is 13. Michelle, you spoke about 481 years when you began reading the preamble. 4 plus 8 is 12, plus 1 is 13. 13 times 2 is 26. Chapter 3 of our Bahamas Constitution, Article 26, is where we find ourselves in 2022 and beyond as sovereign citizens of this world. Okay? Once we were not a people, but now we are the people of God. I go in right now, Michelle. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Going into this 50th Independent Jubilee celebration as a nation, Yahweh Elohim sent me to tell y'all, in this 49th year, we have 12 months to separate our national selves mindset from the international mindset of the strangers among us, and go and come before him on our knees, prostrate, and comprehend why, when you are in the presence of the light, and here the light, the word of God, the word of Jesus Christ, is what this world need, and will forever need. The King of Kings sent me to tell us as a nation, in this 49th year, we have 12 months to separate our national mindset as it relates to the preamble of our Constitution, and then our Constitution, chapter 1, chapter 2, as it relates to how we, as British subjects, became national, independent, sovereign citizens of the world called Bahamians. And this is what the Honorable Distinguished Sydney MacArthur Walter Thompson, Michelle Malcolm, the GPS Live family have brought to our leaders for many years. And we have been rejected. The scriptures just tell us we was once rejected. But once we hear the word of 1 Peter chapter 2 that were preached over this nation 49 years ago, we as a nation will be that light that the scripture calls us to be. Not just walk in the light, but become this light for the world to recognize. Why? Our salvation, Michelle, and I go on with this last thing. Our salvation, he say, like newborn babies, crave pure spiritual milk, Bahamas, so that by it we as a nation may grow up in Yahweh Elohim grace and mercy, which is the salvation he gave an opportunity.
Okay.
I could keep you, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you keep me though.
May the blood and the spirit that was in Jesus Christ be also found in this nation in the next 12 months. Because God ain't playing. Y'all don't want me to tell y'all what he say. He called us a precious stone. And what will happen to those who reject what I just say, then the stone that was rejected would become the head. Yeah, read it. Bahamas, read it in Jesus' name.
All right.
Good.
Thank you, Amos. All right. You want to respond, Amos, at all? Or should we just move on? We only got 9 minutes
No,
left in the show.
let's move on then.
Somebody's asking the question, can someone say what the Constitution says, or could you identify a site for the public to review? Listen, we have this wonderful invention called Google. All you have to do is go to Google and type in Constitution of the Bahamas, and you will find multiple sites where you can actually go and pull up the whole document, download it to your device, and read it at your leisure. It's not hard to find. It's right there at our fingertips. People just don't want to take the time to discover what's in it. Because, you know, we are so used to the system being set up the way it is, where, you know, I mean, COVID changed it a bit, but, you know, for us, we like the rallies and the pom-poms and, you know, and all the trivial foolishness that happens around election time. Very little discussion being held on real issues. Certain, you know, from back in the day when I was a reporter at ZNS, I was trying to have a debate like they do in the United States with the leaders of the various parties coming together on one stage and facing questions of media and, you know, town hall style from the people. And I would always get pushback from a certain party.
Yes, you would.
Saying, well, no, we can't make ourselves available for that. No. Because they benefiting.
That's right.
From keeping the people ignorant. They don't want you to know any better.
That's sad.
Because when you know better, you will demand more.
Oh, yes. We have to demand more.
So I am of the firm belief that this is not by accident that the Constitution is so little known. I believe this is by design. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good afternoon, Lady Malcolm, and your guest.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I can make this quick. I kind of agree with the last sector caller who asked regarding Thompson to expand on the Constitution. That person might can't read or can't see or something. That's why he asked. My problem with MacArthur Walter Thompson, I was his neighbor, is I always tell him, please stop prostituting Article 24.1 everywhere you go. People getting tired of it. If you come in to talk Constitution, bring Article 24.1 once or twice, but expand on the Constitution. Come at Article 25.0 and then Article 26.2. Everywhere you go, 24.1. It's too repetitious. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling. How do you respond to that?
Let me respond to that.
Yes, please.
See, the caller may not understand the value of Article 24.1. The only place in your Constitution which gives you the authority to do something about anything that's going contrary is Article 24.1. That's why I use it often. Okay? There's no other place in the document that gives you that right. Yes, I quote others too. 52.1, we talk about Parliament. The thing is that it's good to repeat things, but it's also good to understand other things as well. I don't know why he has a beef with that, but he's the only one that I've heard say that from the many people who I come in contact with. And that's his right. I'm not going to go against that. The Constitution gives him that right to believe that. But Article 24.1 is extremely important because people need to know that they are not powerless. They are not in a position where they can't help themselves, because some people feel so helpless. Professor, what can we do? But I have to give them a constitutional answer, Ms. Malcolm. I can't give them any other answer that's unconstitutional. Then I would be in error. I don't want to do that. So anytime when I say anything about what you can do, Article 24.1, the very last phrase of Article 24.1. The first phrase says, except with his consent. And the very last phrase talk about having that interest to be protected. People need to understand how important that is. We can lose everything if we don't protect it. It takes us to protect what is in this Constitution. If you don't know it, you can't protect nothing. And that's the problem.
Okay, so I have to call you after the show so we could arrange a schedule, because obviously we're going to have you back. We just barely touched the surface, the tip of the iceberg today.
Yes, ma'am.
But there's a whole huge block of ice under the water
That is true.
that needs to be addressed. So yeah, this is something that I want to talk to you about after the show. Let's see what we can do to make that happen so we can get you on, figure out how frequently you're available, that kind of thing.
Yes, ma'am.
So we can break this down for people.
Yes.
So in response to the person who was asking where you can find the Constitution, I actually found it at oas.org. Let me click on that to see if you get I forget. Actually, just Google it, because I Googled it and that's what came up, oas.org. And they obviously have constitutions of various countries available for download. So just Google it and it'll take you right to the link where you can download the PDF and have it at your fingertips. Sydney MacArthur Walter Thompson.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate this. Our time is gone, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
It's gone.
Right.
We out of time.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation today. And I think it set a really good framework for us going deeper into this whole question of our Constitution and the rights that it affords us. So we don't be like them on a cruise ship sitting down watching people eat food and we only
And
eating
then
crackers. And then
We
come
crackers,
to find
and
out.
then we already have that thing paid for us, and we're not benefiting.
And we ain't
from it.
benefiting from it.
No,
Or like the
that's
food they
wrong.
was eating.
That's good food.
And we eating dry cracker because we just don't know.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting analogy that you brought up. And that's why I want people to understand that there's something they can do about the situation. And don't look at it from a hopeless point of view, because a lot of people feel hopeless.
Yes.
That they cannot do anything. But I say, you are empowered to do something. There's always something you can do about a government or about a representative. And so we have to understand the Constitution empowers us to do things to protect our interests. We have to take the initiative. But there are some who will just sit back and expect some other people to do it for them. No,
yeah,
no,
they
no.
want you,
They
somebody
want
else to do the
someone
work.
No.
No,
But
this
they have to
requires
do
all
it.
hands on deck.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor, for being here. We'll talk after the show about how we can make this a more regular thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Until the next time, I'm Michelle Malcolm. Tomorrow's Hot Topics Tuesday. You all know what the topic is for today. We had last count, I think it was 16 people lose their lives in
Yes.
what appears to
That
be
is sad.
a human smuggling operation.
I think it was
And,
17.
It's 17 now?
Yeah,
Last time I
17.
checked, it was 16, so it's probably
Oh.
gone up. So it could be 17. Because there's still quite a number of people missing.
Missing, that's right.
Yeah,
you're
we're going
right,
to talk
yes.
about that tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to break it down tomorrow. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operator.